What's going on, guys? Carlos here, composer, arranger, and performer. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to write a lo-fi jazz beat. Okay, we're going to focus today on the chord progression that I used, some parts of the melody, and kind of see how that all fits together. So let's check it out. First, I'm going to play you a little bit of the track here at the beginning, the intro and part of the melody here. We have an intro that we usually kind of open up a little bit and like I've written here, create a little vibe, right? So we have these chords, right? Right, so the vamp's sort of based on these four chords. We're in the key of B minor, right? Right? And I'm adding a 9 here in the first chord and a 7 so we get this type of sound, right? And actually I'm putting a third on the top in this voicing to kind of create a little tension there in the voicing. The same thing with the G9 sharp 11. You could add an A in there if you wanted to. Make it a little thicker. Then we got this E minor 11 chord. Right, so the 11's right here. We got the 7 on top. Right? And if this is a little fast, feel free to stop and look at the notes I'm playing here on the piano and on the staff to get an idea. But we also have it written here on the lead sheet. Yeah, then we have this altered chord right here. Sharp 5 here in the chord, the D, and the flat 9 here, the G, right? Which, if we kind of analyze this progression, it's sort of a 1, 6, 4, 5 progression. The 6th chord here in this case is sort of jumping out, using some mode mixture here to sort of create this chord. But if we look at the bass, usually in the key of B, you might go to a G major chord like this. We're kind of jazzing it up by adding some alterations with some dominant, or with a dominant chord here, right? We're kind of keeping this idea of a second on the top, this tension in this inner line here. Take a look at the bass line right here. So we have right. So what's happening here? Well, we got a different chord right here happening, a C9 sharp 11. So why does this work? This isn't really in the key of B. If we had the B minor scale, or this is really based in B Dorian, right? We don't normally have a C. Well, the C in here is sort of acting like a Neapolitan chord. I've mentioned this in a couple of my other videos. If we were to, right? It's a flat 2 chord kind of happening here with some alterations this time. Another way to think about it too is if we had this F sharp chord, right? If we took the tritone sub of that, which would be the C9 sharp 11, right? And then you got this bass movement moving down, which is harmonically a really cool idea. Same type of chords happening. So that sort of creates a tension rhythmically happening with the bass line when it comes in during the second part of the vamp. Kind of recap, we create this chord progression here, kind of create a vibe. Once the bass line comes in, we add a little variation by this rhythmic feel, and also by doing a little reharmonization of our original chords. All right, let's move on here to the melody, right? So the melody, yeah, so let's take that first phrase. If we look at it just melodically, so that's one little fragment of the phrase, right? The first 2 bars. Then we kind of have a sort of question answer type of thing happening here, and the answer is basically you know, following the same sort of sequence here. Except we're landing a little higher this time in the range, opposed to. We do land on the same note here. We do have, I think, what creates a little more excitement here, is the use of this faster rhythm, sort of an ornamented type of feel, while here it's more stagnant. But here we go up, right? It's a little more of an ornamented type of feel. Also, if you look right here, right before, we have that little run rather than we have sort of a question and answer type of thing happening right here. So another difference we're seeing here, we already talked about the C9 sharp 11 chord and where it's coming from, right? Another difference here is this G major. Why did I do that? Well, the melody right here is playing an F sharp, which wouldn't work with our first chord progression, right? We would get this flat 9 interval, right? As you can see on the screen, F. So I decided to change it to an F with an F sharp, which would make it a G minor 9 sharp 11. Right? Yeah. So that's kind of my thinking behind that. I wanted to keep the same sort of progression happening here. We also have a little varied bass line here. We do. Then we have a little different line here. And then we have. Right? So right here is where we start to really change it up here in the melody. And that's, well, not in the melody, but also, not only in the melody, but also in the chords, right? So we're in B minor. Now all of a sudden I play a B major chord. Right? Well, why does that work? Well, we're keeping the same bass note. And we're sort of changing the texture just by going from a minor to a major chord. Right? And the melody now is starting to really move a lot more. Let me go back to this G major. Then back to the B major. So here's where we have a little funny note, the melody happening, right? And I think the reason this kind of works is because it goes by quick. Wouldn't totally recommend doing this type of thing here where you have a major 7 on a dominant chord. I could have done a similar thing where I sort of made it a C major instead, sharp 11. But I feel like it didn't quite fit the vibe and didn't create the same type of leading tones happening underneath in the chord as if we had, right? If we had, you basically, the only leading tone changing would be the C, right? But here we have a better leading tone with the 7th, right? But I wouldn't totally recommend that, right? Right here, we also have a change in the progression. We're using the same chords as earlier, but I decided to go to the 4 chord and then to the 6 chord and then to the Neapolitan chord or the flat 2. Why did I do that? Well, I wanted to change up the feel of the bass line a little bit. And also right here we have a nice sort of move in the circle of fourths here from a G to a C in the bass. Kind of has a really nice feel. Play that with the chords. Right, so yeah, I hope this has kind of given you a little idea of how to sort of write in this style and seeing how this is written out. The key elements here, like I said again, are sort of the chord progression, this use of the bass line, the melody that's really sort of a busy melody, kind of gives it that jazz feel, and the different use of articulation here. And sort of these grace notes, these little ornamentations happening. For instance, right here, and this whole, right, and especially right here, right? So, yeah, feel free to check out the full song. It's on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere. It's here on YouTube too, I believe. And thanks for watching, and hope this helped you.